Hey, so I want to get a little bit personal today, and kind of talk about for me what what's one of the things that actually is kind of the most difficult for me to deal with when it comes to brain damage and having a brain injury. And the I'm gonna say the deficiencies that I have from the injury, those are difficult to deal with on a day to day basis. Um, but um, you know those can be manageable. The hardest thing for me has been the fact that I find it um, I find it rare to run into people that actually understand what I'm going through and what I deal with, and so it's difficult because a lot of a lot of the things uh, that I I struggle with um, can also kind of, how do I say this, um, could be shown almost as character flaws, and so it's difficult for me when something happens, whether it's as simple as I forget something important, um, and um, it's like I've forgotten, I've ruined something, I didn't show up where I needed to be, or I didn't have what need to have, or something. Somebody was relying on me for something, and it's tough for me because even if I try and explain it to people, it just sounds like an excuse, and um, and I don't want to make excuses, but also a lot of the times, even after explaining it, they don't understand. I get a lot of the responses of, "Oh yeah, I've got a bad memory too," or something like that, and it's difficult for me because I don't, I don't want to forget. I do everything within my power. I could write it down, put it in a calendar, have a reminder, and do all those steps that help me remember, and then I can still space on it. And so it's tough because I feel like a lot of people don't understand. Another good example is, um, sometimes like social interactions, depending on how fatigued I am, um, sometimes I say things that aren't appropriate. And I'm not saying like crude or you know um, I'm cursing or making inappropriate suggestions or anything like that. Um, it's more of making jokes that aren't appropriate for the conversation or not picking up on social cues, that sort of thing. One story. This would have been a few years ago. Um, I had just got hired for. Okay, well, let me back up. So I was looking for a job, and I ended up having an interview at one branch of a bank, and then didn't get that job, but then got an interview and got hired at another branch. And um, so when I got hired, that manager was going to go out on vacation. So they actually sent me to the other branch where I didn't get the job, and um, they were going to start my training over there. And they, my boss had told me, she said, make sure you don't make any comments about um, not getting hired or anything like that, because the manager over there is kind of sensitive about it, and she was concerned it was going to be awkward and this, that, and the other thing. And so I went over for training. I was not, as far as like, I wasn't mentally sharp that day. I was feeling pretty fatigued, but I was excited to get started on a job. And I walked in, and literally one of the first things out of my mouth, just, I was on autopilot. I wasn't thinking. It was a joke about how they didn't hire me or something like that. I don't even remember what I said specifically. And the moment it came out of my mouth, my heart just sunk, because I'm like, gosh, like, that is literally the one thing I was told not to say, and I couldn't control myself, and I blurted it out. And so my boss called me, and she was not happy. And I find myself in these situations quite often, and the best thing I can do is just apologize, just be sincere, and admit that I screwed up, and say sorry, because nobody wants to hear why it happened, and like I said, I don't feel like people understand. And so it's difficult for me, because from an outside perspective, I can totally see how that could be a huge character flaw, as far as I just look like a jerk. I went in and I said the one thing that I was told not to say. Now, luckily, in that situation, it blew over, and so I got the job, but the job still didn't work out, and I was gone less than 6 months later. Just couldn't keep up with the workload. But it's those situations that it's difficult for me, because what do I say? I can't say, and especially in the moment, I'm already not making sense mentally. Things aren't coming out right. I'm saying things that not I'm gonna say that I shouldn't say. Like, I don't process things all the time correctly. And I feel bad for my wife, because she is around me so much more, but she's especially around me when I'm not feeling good, when I'm exhausted and mentally tired. So there's countless conversations late at night that I don't react appropriately, or I'm like, things don't make sense, and I just, like, things come out, and I find myself apologizing a lot. Now, my wife, thankfully, she understands. She's had some concussions of her own. She's had some temporary symptoms of some of the stuff that I've dealt with. And thank the Lord, she's all better. She's 100%. She feels great. And I'm so thankful that she doesn't have to deal with anything in the long run. But it was a blessing that she experienced some of those things, because that did help her understand a little bit more of where I'm coming from. And every day we're learning more and more. And, I don't even fully understand everything. And so, it's difficult to explain to people things that I don't fully understand myself. But, the reason that this is the most difficult, or one of the most difficult things for me, is I feel so out of control. These things happen, and it doesn't matter how badly I want to fix it, or I don't want to do it, or I want to avoid these situations. Sometimes it just happens, and I have no control over it. And and it drives me nuts because I wish I could. And I've been working on these things, and I've been trying to set things up so that I can maybe form some new habits, and maybe that will help. I'm not saying it's a lost cause, but you know, it's a terrible feeling when I'm out in public or I walk away from a situation and I don't even realize what I've been doing or what I said or anything like that. And you know, my wife tells me, is like, hey, you know, you interrupted them a lot. They wanted to go like a long time ago and you didn't pick it up. And I appreciate her pointing those things out, but it's even more difficult when she's not around, because you know, maybe I don't even catch myself, or if I do catch myself, I just feel bad. I'm like, why did I say that? Or you know, oh, that's right, I was supposed to do this, and you know, I missed this appointment, or this, that, and the other thing. And it just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's almost just, it's just crushing. Like I keep doing things that are out of my control, and or at least they feel like it. And I feel kind of alone in the fact that I can't talk to most people about it because they don't understand. And you know, even when I'm just describing, like, I'm so tired, or I'm exhausted, like, that means so much different to me than what it means to most people. And it's tough because on the outside I seem normal, and it's kind of almost like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde sort of effect at times. And I can act normal, I can be feeling good, and then all of a sudden, just my brain decides, hey, you're done for the day, and everything just falls off. And you know, it just can happen. And you know, if I'm at a social gathering or something and I get overwhelmed with everything going on, and you know, all the different stimulus and stuff can really drain me. I can go from, you know, having a good time and being a lot of fun to, where's Michael? Oh, well, I don't know, he's zoning off, or apparently he's not having a good time, he walked off or something, and I just need some quiet time or something like that. And so it's tough because it can just happen so quickly that I drop off. So there's a lot of things that I struggle with, and there's a lot of things that I don't know how to process. But as far as some of the most difficult things for me, it's this, because I don't want to hurt people, and I don't want people to think that I don't care about them, and I don't want people to think that I'm not trying. I don't want people to think that I'm lazy, or whatever it is, whatever they perceive negatively about me, because of things that I can't always control or haven't learned to manage. It breaks my heart, because that's not who I want to be, you know. Something, you know, people say, well, if it was important, you'd remember. Well, no, it's so important to me, and I've done everything in my power to leave notes and remind myself, and I can still space it. And so it's difficult for me. I wish I don't mind. It's frustrating dealing with the actual act of forgetting, and it's frustrating with with losing steam and getting mentally fatigued. And it's difficult for me that I can't always pick up on social cues. And sometimes I say things that aren't appropriate for the conversation. But what bothers me the most is how I make other people feel sometimes unintentionally. And then to add insult to injury, it's like I can't even explain it. Because when I try, it sounds like an excuse, or, they don't understand. So there you have it. Just a little more insight on me, and I want to be open and genuine as far as some of the emotional aspects that I deal with, and some of the things that I do struggle with. So there you have it. I hope that this helps some other people kind of maybe understand and learn that even though there's a lot of people out there that don't have, and it's not even a disability, it's, just don't have a visible sign. Like, there's so much more going on in the background. You don't have to be in a wheelchair or on crutches or have some physical, disability to struggle in life. And a lot of people struggle. Yes, I have, a brain injury, and I have issues that spur from that, but it doesn't even have to be like that. There's a lot of people out there that I think are emotionally, mentally, and spiritually struggling. And, one of the things that I've learned from this is people don't always see what I'm dealing with, and people don't always understand. And I take that as, you know what? I'll flip the roles. I mean, there are people out there that are struggling that I don't understand what they're going through. And there's people going through the day that, maybe they snap at you and you don't realize that there's something else going on in the background. So this has helped me when it comes to giving people grace. I don't always understand the situations, and I don't always know what's going on. And so I know how many times a day that I say things or do things that could be perceived as, like I said, character flaw, or not caring, or whatever it might be, or just rude, or that sort of stuff. And I know that there's so much more going on in the background. So when I see other people that react certain ways, or do things and for certain reasons, I always try and remind myself that I don't always know what's going on in the background. And there could be so much more of a reason for why they reacted the way they did, or why something happened the way it did, that we don't always have the whole picture. So I do my very best, and I fail all the time, but I do my best to try and remind myself to give them grace. And so I hope that if you made it this far through the video, that maybe it makes sense to you also that we don't know everything, and we can't always tell what's going through people's lives and what they're dealing with behind closed doors. And so just try and give them grace, because your reaction could be the turning point in their day. Um, and the way that you treat them could have such a huge impact on their life and what they're dealing with. So, um, try and be kind, extend grace, and try and understand that there's so much more that we don't know about what's going on behind closed doors, what's behind the scenes. And if we try and do that for other people, then maybe one day somebody will do it to us, for us, when we are having a bad day for whatever reason, and lash out inappropriately. And if they extend grace to us, we'll realize, hey, like, we appreciate it. It makes me feel better, for sure. Whenever I get somebody who just extends grace, even though they don't understand. So there you have it. A little more insight into my life, and a little more, I hope, a better perspective on people. And like I said, just try and be graceful. Try and give people the benefit of the doubt. All right, there you are.